Thank you, David. All day today, we followed the 54 indictments of gang members in Chattanooga. These photos show 40 of the people who were arrested. And here is now a closer look at those booking photos. These people lived all over the city, but the DA's office says this gang started in a specific part of town. James Torres is live now at the Hamilton County Courthouse to tell us more about this gang.
First of all, investigators are searching for the person who shot an 8th grade boy to death at his Chattanooga home. Police and neighbors say 13-year-old Deontray Southers wasn't the intended target.
Police are searching for a 17-year-old they say is behind a quadruple shooting at College Hill Courts. 20-year-old Talitha Bowman was killed in the attack, and a 1-year-old Zoe Duncan was critically wounded. Family members say that if she survives, she may never walk again. Also among the injured, Zoe's mother, 24-year-old Bianca Horton, and a man, 18-year-old Marcel Christopher. They say the shooter was Cortez Sims, a known gang member who goes by the name Awax.
Just an innocent mother who was murdered for nothing. It was weak and it was cowardly. And that's why I'm the most sympathetic about that.
Courtney High admitted on the stand that he played a part in Bianca Horton's death. It's a 2016 murder case that put the safety of witnesses in the spotlight. Witnesses like Bianca Horton.
Between 2013 and 2018, Chattanooga, Tennessee, became the epicenter of a bloody gang war between two rival Bloods, the Athens Park Bloods and the Bounty Hunter Bloods. What began as a personal dispute between leaders quickly spiraled into a wave of retaliatory shootings, targeted executions, and widespread terror that gripped the community. Over the years, a series of high-profile deletions, including the tragic deaths of 13-year-old Deontray Southers, Talitha Bowman, and witness Bianca Horton, shocked the city and exposed the far-reaching influence of gang culture. This escalating violence ultimately led to a historic 2018 RICO indictment, the largest gang takedown in Chattanooga's history, as law enforcement launched an aggressive strategy to dismantle the Athens Park Bloods criminal enterprise and restore stability to a community plagued by fear.
According to the district attorney's office, Willie Bush is the father of the Athens Park Bloods in Chattanooga. In the past, police called him a career criminal. They say he influenced his children to participate in gang activity while living in the south side of town.
Dozens of members of one Chattanooga gang appeared in court for the first time since being charged in a groundbreaking case. Security was tight and everything went as planned. This morning, Catherine Marchand was there. And Catherine, you also learned today other counties are now getting dragged into this RICO case.
Yeah, Josh, that's right. 54 Athens Park Bloods were indicted and 44 of them were in court today. 44 defendants means 44 different attorneys. And the judge had to look outside of Hamilton County just to make sure there were enough people to represent them.
Extra security was in place outside this Hamilton County courtroom, which quickly filled up with accused Athens Park Bloods gang members, their families, and attorneys. In fact, it was so packed with lawyers, many didn't have anywhere to sit.
Are you represented by a lawyer? Are you able to afford to hire a lawyer?
Most of the defendants claimed they couldn't pay for their own attorney to fight these racketeering and conspiracy charges, but with such a large group of accused criminals, it was a struggle to find people who could represent them. Many of the lawyers who typically would take on these cases, like Hamilton County public defenders and criminal defense attorneys, had conflicts of interest. Bill Speak's firm has previously represented 19 of the gang members.
In late 2013, a violent gang feud erupted in Chattanooga, Tennessee, between two rival blood sets, the Athens Park Bloods and the Bounty Hunter Bloods. Tensions reached a boiling point after a fight broke out at a local nightclub in December 2013 between Athens Park Bloods gang leader Marshall Tricky Trail Arnold and Bounty Hunter Bloods leader Bobby Johnson. What began as a personal altercation quickly spiraled into an all-out street war. Within weeks, both gangs launched retaliatory attacks against one another. Homes were riddled with bullets, cars torched, and suspected rivals gunned down in the streets. According to police intelligence at the time, Chattanooga was in the midst of an ongoing gang feud that showed no signs of slowing. This escalating wave of violence would set the stage for a string of brutal deletions over the next several years, deletions that shocked the community and eventually led to one of the most significant gang-related RICO indictments in Tennessee's history.
First of all, investigators are searching for the person who shot an 8th grade boy to death at his Chattanooga home. Police and neighbors say 13-year-old Deontray Southers wasn't the intended target, but he was the latest victim in an ongoing retaliation between two rival gangs, the Athens Park Bloods and the Bounty Hunter Bloods. 11 bullet holes were found in the East 50th Street house where Deontray lived. His mother found him wounded downstairs, and her son died on the way to the hospital. Southers was a student at East Lake Academy of Fine Arts.
The DA says he murdered 13-year-old Deontray Southers in 2014.
There was a beef between Bounty Hunter and Athens Park.
During his first trial, prosecutors talked about Sims's affiliation with the Athens Park Bloods. They said one of the men he shot in 2015, seen here on the floor, was a member of a rival gang. Marcel Christopher refused to testify in Sims's trial.
One of the earliest and most heartbreaking casualties of the Bloods gang war in Chattanooga was 13-year-old Deontray Southers. On the night of January 20th, 2014, gunmen opened fire through the front door of his family's home, resulting in the deletion of the young teen. Deontray was the stepson of Bounty Hunter Bloods leader Bobby Johnson, and investigators believe members of the Athens Park Bloods carried out the act in direct retaliation. Earlier that same evening, relatives of an Athens Park Bloods member had been targeted in a shooting allegedly by Bounty Hunter Blood members, and authorities believe Deontray's demise was meant to send a deadly message. Despite the brutality of the event, no one was charged for years. Detectives received information pointing to several Athens Park Blood members, but witnesses from the neighborhood refused to cooperate, fearing violent repercussions from the gang. The case went cold, leaving Deontray's family without answers. It wasn't until 2018, 4 years later, that prosecutors finally brought charges against Cortez LeBron Sims, a known Athens Park Bloods member. By then, Sims' name had already become infamous in Chattanooga, as he would later be connected to several other high-profile incidents tied to the same gang war. The demise of a 13-year-old boy in his own home shocked the community and underscored just how far the feud between the rival blood sets had spiraled out of control.
Police were called to South Terrace around 2 a.m. Wednesday about a traffic crash. When they got there, they found a vehicle down an embankment with a man dead inside.
Another mysterious and chilling event during this violent period was the demise of Cedric Blinky Mikes, age 32. In the early hours of June 25, 2014, Chattanooga police discovered a car crashed down an embankment off South Terrace. Inside, they found Cedric Mikes slumped over the wheel. Investigators later determined that Mikes was not alone that night. Several other individuals, all believed to be members of the Athens Park Bloods, were inside the vehicle when the shooting occurred. Suspicion immediately fell on those passengers. But like many gang-related incidents, evidence was scarce. Fear and loyalty within the gang created a wall of silence, and in 2014, no immediate arrests were made. Years later, as part of a sweeping RICO investigation, a Hamilton County grand jury finally named 3 Athens Park Bloods members: Cordell Collier, Martrell Tricky Trail Arnold, and Johnny Clemens, as those responsible for Mikes' deletion. Prosecutors believe the act stemmed from an internal dispute within the gang, suggesting Mikes was targeted at point-blank range while driving fellow members. By 2023, one of the defendants, Johnny Clemens Jr., accepted a plea deal, admitting to a reduced charge of voluntary manslaughter in Mikes' case. During his hearing, Clemens maintained that the fatal shot came from the back seat, but medical examiner findings contradicted his account, indicating the weapon was likely fired from beside the driver. Because of the case's age and evidentiary challenges, Clemens received a 5-year sentence, essentially time served after years behind bars awaiting trial.
First, police are searching for a 17-year-old they say is behind a quadruple shooting at College Hill Courts. 20-year-old Talitha Bowman was killed in the attack, and a 1-year-old Zoe Duncan was critically wounded. Family members say that if she survives, she may never walk again. Also among the injured, Zoe's mother, 24-year-old Bianca Horton, and a man, 18-year-old Marcel Christopher. They say the shooter was Cortez Sims, a known gang member who goes by the name Awax. Someone opened the door and let him into the apartment. Now police say they have solid leads about Sims' whereabouts and that federal agents are helping with the
Chattanooga police and the U.S. Marshals Service helped with the search and that arrest. Sims now facing several charges, including first-degree for the January 7th shooting at College Hill Courts.
Talitha Bowman was killed, and Marcel Christopher, Bianca Horton, and a 1-year-old Zoe Duncan were also shot. Cortez Sims is from Ringgold, and while he was only 17, he had already been in trouble with the law as well as multiple schools.
The jury delivered a guilty verdict for Cortez Sims. Jury's deliberations came after a challenging case. Marcel Christopher was also shot, but refused to testify, saying he worried for his safety. The jury heard Christopher's old testimony instead. They listened to a 911 call. In the video, Marcel Christopher tells police Cortez Sims shot him. Prosecutors say the two men were in rival gangs, feuding when the 4 victims were shot. Sims did not testify, and the defense didn't call any witnesses or issue a closing statement. This video shows Sims moments after he found out he'll spend the rest of his life in prison. Bianca Horton's brother says now that the trial is done and over with, he's ready to move forward.
Cortez Sims found guilty on all of the counts against him, including first-degree murder. That was the biggest one. Comes with a life sentence, and he was taken immediately right into custody, and where he will begin serving that life sentence. His family sobbing as he was led away. He really didn't have much of a reaction. But
as the gang feud escalated, Cortez, Awax, Sims emerged as a central figure on the Athens Park Blood side. On the night of January 7, 2015, Sims carried out one of the most notorious and brutal attacks of the conflict, a mass shooting inside an apartment at College Hill Courts that would change multiple lives forever. Just after midnight, Sims knocked on the door of an apartment where Marcel "Baby What's" Christopher, a known bounty hunter Bloods affiliate, was staying with friends and family. Inside were Christopher's girlfriend, Bianca Horton, their 15-month-old daughter, and Bianca's close friend, just 20 years old. When Bowman answered the door, she immediately recognized Sims, as did both Horton and Christopher. Without hesitation, Sims barged in, stood at the top of the stairs, and opened fire without mercy. The gunfire tore through everyone inside. Talitha Bowman was struck twice and collapsed on the floor, bleeding out in moments. Bianca Horton suffered a grazed wound to the arm, while baby Zoe was shot in the back, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down. Marcel Christopher was riddled with multiple bullets to the chest and stomach, but miraculously survived. In the chaotic aftermath, Bianca Horton managed to dial 911. Within 48 hours, police tracked down and arrested 17-year-old Cortez Sims in Knoxville, charging him with Talitha Bowman's demise and the attempted deletions of Christopher, Horton, and baby Zoe. Prosecutors quickly linked the attack to the larger Bloods gang feud, believing Sims specifically targeted Christopher because of his bounty hunter Bloods affiliation. Investigators discovered that less than a week before the shooting, an Athens Park Bloods member had been deleted in a retaliatory strike, a demise that fueled Sims' rage and desire for revenge. In 2017, despite the absence of a key witness, a Hamilton County jury convicted Cortez Sims of first-degree deletion, as well as 3 counts of attempted deletion for the other victims. Sims was sentenced to life in prison.
Just an innocent mother who was for nothing. It was weak and it was cowardly. And that's why I'm the most sympathetic about that.
Courtney High admitted on the stand that he played a part in Bianca Horton's death. The safety of witnesses in the spotlight. Witnesses like Bianca Horton.
She was not willing to stand for the violence. She understood that you had to speak out when something terrible occurs in our city.
Horton watched Cortez Sims shoot and paralyze her then 1-year-old daughter Zoe. Just weeks before she was set to testify as a witness in Sims' trial, she was. High admits he was in the same gang as Cortez Sims, the Athens Park Bloods.
I did everything I could to save her, but when it came down to it, It was either you with them or you
A
wasn't.
teenager accused of shooting 4 people at an apartment in Chattanooga is in custody.
First, an update on the baby hurt in that shooting.
The mother of the 1-year-old girl is speaking only to News Channel 9 tonight.
She said doesn't have feeling in her legs, but when they do touch her feet, she does give a reaction to it. I was thankful that he was caught, because now I can get to the justice phase for me, my daughter, and my friends.
If they do, they're gonna y'all too.
That is just part of a phone call prosecutors argue is related to a kite that they say was intercepted inside of the Hamilton County Jail in August 2016. This is not an actual kite, but a jail letter that goes by the slang term kite behind bars. In that kite, prosecutors believe Greer was threatening fellow gang member Johnny Clemens against testifying in a separate case unrelated to the murder of Bianca Horton. Lead investigator on this case, Jeremy Wimbush, read the letter aloud in court.
I don't know the mark you become, but if you get on that stand or cooperate any further with these people, it's personal with us. I love you as a brother. Don't cross the mob. Let bygones be bygones, and this paperwork
This evening, a suspect in notorious case took a plea deal on Wednesday that avoids the death penalty. Courtney High pled guilty to 3 years in all from 8 years ago. He admitted to the murders of cousins Jerrica and Marquise Jackson, but the highest profile case was of Bianca Horton. She was the young mother who agreed to testify against gang leader Cortez Sims for shooting and paralyzing her young daughter.
The community says its final goodbyes to a mother and key witness in an upcoming trial.
Family and friends of Bianca Horton gathered today for her funeral at Olivet Baptist Church.
By the spring of 2016, Bianca Horton was still recovering from the trauma of the College Hill courts shooting the year before. She had been there the night her close friend Talitha Bowman met her demise, and her own 15-month-old daughter, Zoe, was left paralyzed by a bullet from Cortez, Awax Sims. Bianca had survived, but her role as the key eyewitness who could directly tie Sims to Bowman's demise put her in grave danger. She was scheduled to testify at Sims' upcoming trial, a decision that made her a target. On the morning of May 25, 2016, that threat became a reality. Bianca, just 26 years old, was outside her home in Chattanooga's Athens Park neighborhood when multiple attackers struck in broad daylight. Witnesses described the scene as sudden and shocking, saying the men swooped in like they were on roller skates, grabbing Bianca in seconds and forcing her into a waiting white van. She was driven only a short distance to Elder Street, where she was shot multiple times and her body was dumped in a roadside ditch. When police arrived, they found Bianca's body riddled with 6 bullets. The community was shaken to its core. Chattanooga's police chief condemned the deletion as weak and cowardly, emphasizing that Bianca was not involved in any gang activity. She was targeted solely to silence her testimony. The investigation that followed revealed the chilling reality behind Bianca's death. Informants and evidence confirmed that the hit had been ordered by Athens Park Bloods leaders, who were desperate to protect Cortez Sims from conviction. One witness recalled being present when the order was given and hearing another member volunteer, saying, "I'll take care of it." Detectives later recovered the white van used in the abduction. Inside, they found cleaning supplies and forensic evidence, including fingerprints and DNA, linking the vehicle to Charles "Slick" Shelton, one of the conspirators. Cell phone records also placed Athens Park Blood members at the scene at the exact time of Bianca's abduction and demise. Based on the mounting evidence, authorities charged 3 Athens Park Bloods members, Andre Y.G. Grier, Charles Shelton, and Courtney High, with kidnapping and the demise of Bianca Horton. Because she was a key witness preparing to testify, the state treated her demise as an attack on the justice system itself, and all 3 men initially faced the death penalty. Less than 3 weeks after the demise of Bianca Horton, Chattanooga was rocked by another chilling act of violence, this time striking within the Athens Park Blood's own extended family. On June 12, 2016, Jerica J.J. Jackson, just 22 years old, was found shot to death inside a white SUV on Trailwood Drive. She had been hit 4 times at close range. The scene bore every hallmark of a targeted execution. Neighbors reported seeing a gold Impala speeding away from the area, driven by a man with long dreadlocks. Suspicion quickly fell on Courtney High, a known Athens Park Bloods member who matched that description. But what stunned investigators and the community alike was High's connection to the victim Jerica wasn't just another name in the feud. She was his cousin. The two had grown up together, sharing the same household for part of their childhood. Why would High delete a family member? The grim answer came later in court. High admitted under oath that Jerica had begun cooperating with the rival bounty hunter Bloods. Prosecutors alleged she had even agreed to lure Athens Park Blood members into an ambush for the bounty hunter Bloods gang. When Athens Park Blood's leadership learned of her actions reportedly tipped off by other women involved, they allegedly issued a green light on Jerica's life. According to prosecutors, High orchestrated the setup. On the day of the demise, he had an unwitting female acquaintance invite Jerica to a specific house, making it appear to be a friendly visit. High then lay in wait outside, hidden in the bushes. When Jerica arrived and parked her SUV, High walked up to her vehicle and shot her at point-blank range as she sat in the driver's seat. The demise of someone who was not only a one-time ally, but also family underscored the ruthlessness of the gang's code. Loyalty to the set came before blood ties. In court, one of High's relatives openly condemned his actions, saying tearfully, "She loved you. She was like your sister." The family denounced the gang orders High chose to follow, calling them foolish and inane. Initially, High was charged with Jerrica Jackson's demise as a standalone case. But in 2018, that charge became part of the sweeping RICO indictment against the Athens Park Bloods, upgrading it to a racketeering-related deletion tied directly to the gang's broader criminal conspiracy. By August 2016, the violent feud between the Athens Park Bloods and their rivals was still raging, and Courtney High found himself entangled in yet another deadly act. On the night of August 7, 2016, attackers struck a house on Water Street, where 24-year-old Marquise Jackson was staying. Despite sharing a last name with Jerrica Jackson, Marquise was not related to her. Marquise was believed to be either a bounty hunter Blood, or at least closely allied with them. According to Athens Park Blood intelligence, he was suspected of being directly involved in the deletions of Athens Park Bloods members during previous incidents. That alleged role made him a marked man. On the night of the attack, there was a knock at the door. When Marquise answered, he was confronted by violence. According to later testimony, Courtney High arrived at the residence accompanied by an underage teenage girl whom the gang had drawn into the plot. The girl had been tasked with carrying out the deletion as part of a gang initiation, a test to prove herself. When she pointed a handgun at Marquise, the weapon jammed and failed to fire. In that moment, High stepped forward, pulled his own gun, and opened fire, striking Marquise multiple times at point-blank range. Marquise collapsed at the doorway, fatally wounded. Authorities described the act as a gangland assassination, carried out in retaliation for Marquise's alleged role in earlier attacks against Athens Park Bloods members. Like the deletion of Jerrica Jackson, this case tied directly back to High and the broader network of violence within the Athens Park Bloods. In the sweeping 2018 RICO indictment, Courtney High was formally charged with Marquise Jackson's deletion as part of the gang's racketeering conspiracy. The teenage girl involved in the plot was also charged separately in juvenile court for her role in the attack. The deletion of Marquise Jackson marked the final demise among the 5 people who lost their life, highlighted in the historic indictment, a last bloody chapter in the Chattanooga gang war before law enforcement stepped in to dismantle the Athens Park Bloods criminal enterprise. By early 2018, after years of relentless violence and escalating gang warfare, law enforcement officials were finally prepared to dismantle the Athens Park Bloods. For years, the gang had been linked to a series of deletions, shootings, and organized crimes that terrorized Chattanooga neighborhoods. Public pressure and outrage mounted with each violent act, pushing authorities to launch a multi-agency operation led by Hamilton County District Attorney General Neil Pinkston. On March 28, 2018, a Hamilton County grand jury handed down a 13-count RICO indictment charging 54 members and associates of the Athens Park Bloods. It was a historic first for Hamilton County, the largest gang indictment in Chattanooga's history, and the first time a local street gang was prosecuted under Tennessee's racketeering laws. 7 defendants were specifically charged in connection with 5 high-profile deletions. Prosecutors alleged these deletions were not random acts of violence, but part of a larger pattern of racketeering activity designed to maintain the gang's dominance, retaliate against rivals, and silence witnesses. In addition, the indictment included counts of conspiracy, drug trafficking, illegal weapons possession, and multiple assaults, illustrating the breadth of the Athens Park Bloods operations. The 2018 Athens Park Bloods takedown marked a turning point in Chattanooga's battle against gang violence. For the first time, authorities shifted their strategy from targeting individual shooters to dismantling the entire organization from the top down. It was a decisive strike intended not just to punish, but to restore safety and stability to a community scarred by years of terror. The RICO case against the Athens Park Bloods evolved into one of the most complex legal battles in Chattanooga's history. Defense attorneys fought hard, arguing that Tennessee's racketeering law required proof of financial gain for each crime, something difficult to establish in deletions motivated by retaliation or vengeance. For example, attorneys for Cortez Sims argued that his alleged role in the 2014 demise of Deontray Southers wasn't profit-driven and therefore shouldn't fall under RICO. Despite these challenges, the core of the case moved forward, setting the stage for one of Tennessee's most significant gang prosecutions. Over the following years, many defendants faced convictions or plea deals. Cortez Sims, already serving a life sentence for the College Hill Court shooting and the demise of Talitha Bowman, remained a central figure in the RICO case for his alleged role in Suthers' deletion. Courtney High, once facing the death penalty, accepted a plea deal in 2024. He confessed to his role in the demise of Bianca Horton, Jerrica Jackson, and Marquise Jackson in exchange for life in prison. In a dramatic courtroom moment, High expressed remorse, apologizing to the victims' families and admitting that gang loyalty and pressure drove his actions. He revealed haunting details, lamenting that Bianca Horton met her demise for nothing at the command of gang higher-ups. Not all defendants made it to trial. Charles Slick Shelton, one of the accused in Horton's deletion, died in custody, taking vital secrets about the case with him. Andre Y.G. Grier, another suspect in Horton's case, awaited a decision on whether prosecutors would continue seeking the death penalty. In the 2014 The Demise of Cedric Blinky Mikes, Johnny Clemens Jr. entered an Alford plea to voluntary manslaughter, receiving a 5-year sentence, effectively time served, while co-defendants Cordell Collier and Marshall Arnold resolved their charges through lesser pleas. Dozens of lower-level APB members faced a range of charges from drug trafficking to assault. Many also accepted plea agreements, effectively dismantling the gang's hierarchy. Beyond the courtroom, the 2018 indictment had a transformational impact on Chattanooga. It marked the first major test of Tennessee's expanded RICO statute against a street gang and set a powerful precedent for future cases. The demise of Bianca Horton also exposed a critical vulnerability in the justice system, prompting calls for stronger witness protection programs. In the aftermath, law enforcement and community leaders began working more closely to assure witnesses they would not be left defenseless when testifying against violent offenders. The fall of the Athens Park Bloods marked a turning point for Chattanooga, ending years of relentless gang warfare and setting a precedent for how authorities confront organized street violence. The 2018 RICO indictment not only brought justice to victims' families, but also signaled a shift in law enforcement's approach, targeting entire organizations rather than individual crimes. Beyond the courtroom, Bianca Horton's tragic death spurred reforms around witness protection and community cooperation, strengthening efforts to safeguard those who stand up against violent gangs. While scars from the conflict remain, the takedown of the Athens Park Bloods represents a significant step toward breaking the cycle of retaliatory bloodshed and reclaiming peace in Chattanooga's neighborhoods.